You've been programmed to believe that being agreeable earns admiration, that being vulnerable guarantees intimacy, that if you give more, she'll finally see your worth. But the truth? The more you give without value, the less she feels. Because a woman doesn't fall for a man who gives her the world. She falls for the man who doesn't need her to feel whole. That's the power of aura. Aura isn't about looks or luxury. It's the silent dominance that enters the room before you do. It's how you walk, speak, breathe, respond. It's the stoic, unshakable energy that says, I lead myself, I respect myself, I build, not chase. And this video will show you exactly how to create that aura from scratch. If you're tired of playing by rules that leave you empty, if you're done being emotionally used and quietly disrespected, if you're ready to rise into a version of yourself that women chase, men admire, and the world feels, then keep watching. Comment powerful aura if you're done giving your power away and ready to transform your life. Number 1. Master your presence. You don't need to say a word to let the world know who you are, because the world responds to energy before it ever hears your voice. And the brutal truth is, most men walk around like ghosts. Invisible, hunched over, eyes low, movements anxious. Every step says, I hope no one notices me. And they wonder why no one respects them. You feel it in public, don't you? That crushing silence when no one acknowledges you. That moment when you try to speak and your voice doesn't carry, or worse, people talk over you. You think, maybe I'm not important enough. But here's the truth. You're not seen because you haven't yet claimed your space. Men who own their presence, they move like gravity bends around them. They enter a room and people pause, not because of fame or fortune, but because their body language screams, I belong here. And what makes this even more unfair is this. Women notice presence faster than anything. In a room full of loud voices and flexing egos, she zeroes in on the man who says nothing, because his energy speaks louder than all of them combined. And that kind of energy isn't built in comfort, it's forged in discomfort. If you're constantly apologizing with your body, quick gestures, darting eyes, fidgeting, weak tone, you're programming people to treat you like an afterthought. Fix it. Immediately. Stand tall like your spine carries a mission. Walk like you've got nowhere to rush because everything you want is already chasing you. Don't just practice posture in front of the mirror. Live it. While waiting in line, while sitting at a table, while entering a meeting, reclaim space. Take up room. Your body tells the world how to treat you. Train it like a weapon, not a cry for help. And presence isn't about being loud. It's about being grounded. Have you ever seen a man so still, so composed, it made others nervous? That's power. That's dominance. Because while others seek noise to validate their existence, he needs none. His stillness demands respect. You want that kind of presence? Get out of your head. Get into your breath. Stop thinking what they think. Start feeling what you stand for. When you speak, slow down. Lower your tone. Pause mid-sentence. Let your words sink, not sprint. Speak like your voice deserves to be heard, because if you don't believe it, no one will. You've been trained to be nice, to not intimidate, to always explain, and it's made you invisible. Enough. Presence is not something you earn by being agreeable. It's something you build by refusing to shrink. Every time you apologize for no reason, every time you nervously laugh at something unfunny, every time you play small so others feel comfortable, you rob yourself of your aura. And if you keep doing that, you will be forgotten. But the good news, presence is built daily. When you're in discomfort, stay centered. When you're questioned, don't rush to explain. When you're ignored, don't try harder. Just double down on your value. Because the man who truly knows his worth never begs to be seen. The world can't help but look. And if you're serious about becoming the man whose presence rewires how the world treats him, not just with women, but in every room he walks into, then you need the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men. This isn't just a book. It's a weapon, a permanent guide you'll own for life. One you can return to anytime you feel lost, disrespected, or betrayed. Every chapter breaks down the core truths they never taught you. How to lead with calm dominance, how to stop seeking and start attracting, how to protect your peace and rebuild your power. You'll never have to guess again. It's linked in the comments right now. Grab your copy and never be confused again. Number 2, live with ruthless purpose. If you wake up every day asking who texted you back, who liked your post, who's giving you attention, you've already lost. You're not living, you're reacting. And this is why your life feels hollow. Purpose isn't a cute slogan. It's not a vision board. It's a necessary plan. Most men today are lost, not because they're weak, but because no one ever told them they're allowed to put themselves first. Society has programmed you to chase approval, to make women your gods, to believe that your value is measured by how much you serve others while ignoring your own calling. But here's the brutal truth. No one will respect a man who doesn't have something bigger than a relationship driving him. She won't admire you if you orbit her. She won't desire you if you're available 24/7. Because if your entire world is her, you're not a man with a mission. You're a man in submission. And women test that every day, consciously or not. They test to see if you'll abandon your path for them, if you'll drop your standards just to keep them. And the moment you do, they lose interest. Not because they're cruel, but because nature respects strength. A man without direction becomes needy. He becomes emotional. He becomes confused, constantly seeking clues, feedback, validation. Every text becomes a battle. Every silence becomes torture. And eventually, he becomes a shell of himself, waiting for someone else to tell him he's worth something. If that's you, wake up. Your purpose is not optional. It is the only thing that makes you a force. Build it. Define it. Write it out. What do you want your life to stand for? What impact do you want to leave? What mastery are you willing to pursue even when no one claps for you? And once you know, build your days around it. Wake up with non-negotiables. Train your body not for likes but for discipline. Work your craft not for applause but for excellence. Study not to impress but to sharpen your edge. Because when you move with purpose, you become rare, and rarity attracts. She'll see it in your eyes, in the way you walk away from drama, in the way you choose solitude over shallow connections, in the way you say no to distractions, yes to discipline. Have you ever seen a man so focused he doesn't even notice the noise? That's what makes women lean in. That's what makes people follow. Because the world is starving for leaders. And a man with ruthless purpose, he doesn't chase. He attracts. He doesn't react. He designs. And if you want to be that man, it starts today. Stop living for their approval. Start building for your legacy. Write your goal. Break it down. Execute daily. And when someone tries to pull you off path, smile and say, I've got somewhere more important to be. Because the truth is, she's not the prize. Your mission is. And when you live like that, everything, respect, attention, women, follows. Not because you begged, but because you built something bigger than all of it. Number 3, be calm in chaos. Chaos is everywhere. You feel it in your relationships, your job, your thoughts, your inbox. The world never slows down. But the question isn't how loud it gets. It's whether or not you let that noise shake your foundation. Most men are emotionally fragile because they were never taught the power of internal calm. They were told to react, to please, to apologize, to constantly seek harmony, even at the expense of their dignity. And so, every test from a woman, every mood swing, every delay, every ignored message becomes a storm they try to calm by bending, explaining, chasing. They try to fix her attitude instead of mastering their own energy. And with every act of emotional dependence, they lose respect. Because in her mind, she's not trying to break you. She's testing to see if anything can. The truth is, women don't trust a man who flinches. They may not say it, but they feel it. She raises her voice, and you scramble to pacify. She ignores your message, and you double text. She withdraws, and you panic. And every time you move out of fear, out of anxiety, out of insecurity, you tell her you're not in control. And if you're not in control of yourself, how can you lead her? The truth is brutal. Women crave emotional strength, not emotional reactivity. They want to be led, not emotionally rescued. And the only way to lead is to anchor yourself so deeply in calm that no external force can unseat you. That means when she acts erratic, you don't match her energy, you maintain yours. When she's upset, you listen, but you don't chase. When she pushes, you stand firm, not with aggression, not with yelling, but with stillness. Because real strength isn't loud, it's composed. Think about the last time you got into an argument and said something you regretted. Think about the last time you reacted emotionally, then felt weak afterward. That feeling is your soul telling you that you lost control, not of her, but of you. And that is the only loss that matters. If you want to be respected, you must learn to sit in discomfort without flinching. When someone disrespects you, you don't need to yell. You just remove yourself. When life throws uncertainty your way, you don't spiral. You pivot. Because you are not here to fix every problem instantly. You are here to be unshakable. That's the man who gets followed. That's the man who gets desired. But calm is not something you fake. It must be trained. Every time you feel anger bubbling, pause. Every time anxiety grips your chest, sit with it. Let it pass. Observe it like a passing storm. And when people try to provoke you, remember, they only succeed if you give them your peace. You want to build a high-value aura? Control your emotions. Don't hand your power to every situation that wants a reaction. Speak when necessary. Respond when intentional. But never let chaos pull you off center. Because in a world full of reactive men, the calm man is king. The one who can walk through fire with steady eyes, with a steady voice, with steady intent. That man is unforgettable. He doesn't need to prove anything. His energy says it all. She can test him, life can challenge him, but he stays rooted. He speaks with clarity, he moves with purpose, and he becomes the eye of the storm that everyone else learns to orbit. You want to be that man? Start today. Control your breath. Control your posture. Control your tone. Master those, and everything else follows. Number 4. Say less, mean more. Words are cheap when spoken carelessly, but they become power when spoken with intention. And most men don't understand this. They've been trained to over-explain, to seek reassurance, to talk their way into validation, not realizing that every unnecessary word drains their value. You see it in conversations where men trip over themselves trying to impress. You hear it in long, pleading texts. You feel it when a man speaks without belief, just filler noise, hoping something sticks. And women see through it instantly. She hears desperation in your tone before she ever hears confidence in your pitch. Because value is never loud. It's measured in restraint. High-value men speak with gravity. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't babble when nervous. They don't seek approval with words. They command it through presence. You want to be taken seriously? Then speak like you respect your own voice. Have you ever sat in a room where a man barely spoke, but when he did, everyone listened? That's not luck. That's control. That's understanding that your voice is a tool, not a trap. And every time you overuse it, you dilute it. Look at how you interact. Do you feel the urge to constantly explain yourself? Do you talk fast to avoid awkward pauses? Do you nervously laugh after making a point? All of that signals one thing: insecurity. And insecurity kills attraction faster than anything. But when you say less and mean more, everything changes. Suddenly, your words carry weight. Your opinions matter. Your silence becomes powerful. She starts leaning in. people start paying attention. Because silence makes people uncomfortable, but only if you're uncomfortable with it. When you master silence, you make people chase your approval instead of chasing theirs. And that dynamic flips everything. You stop being the performer, you become the standard. So how do you do it? First, slow down your speech. Breathe between your thoughts. Pause mid-sentence. Let your words sink in. Second, kill the filler. Don't soften your statements with "I think" or "maybe." Speak directly. Own your stance. Third, listen more than you speak. Not to respond, but to understand. People reveal everything when you stop trying to be heard and start observing. And most importantly, stop explaining your worth. Prove it through action. When someone questions your decisions, let results speak. When someone doubts you, let progress speak. When she pulls away, don't chase. Let your energy remind her of what she just lost. The man who says less often hears more, and in that silence, he finds clarity, power, and presence. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to be respected by the right ones. And respect starts when you stop bleeding value through words and start asserting it through presence. You don't need approval. You don't need validation. You need to master your energy, your tone, your message. And when you do, the world listens. Not because you shout, but because when you speak, it matters. Number 5, build magnetic self-respect. No woman will ever respect you more than you respect yourself. And the bitter reality is, most men today are completely out of touch with what that even means. You think being agreeable is self-respect. You think being understanding, constantly compromising, and putting her on a pedestal earns love. But what it actually does is lower your value, because you're showing her that you put her above your own boundaries. And boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They are gates that teach others how to treat you. And when those gates are always open, when your standards are always negotiable, when your time is always available, your value dies. You've been trained to think that being the nice guy is the path to connection. You give, you sacrifice, you adjust. And still, you're left wondering why you're ghosted, cheated on, or just tolerated. It's because nice is not respected. Consistency, discipline, and unshakable standards are. Respect isn't requested. It's commanded through behavior. Look at your life right now. Are you living by your own standards, or have you been molding yourself into something more palatable just to fit into someone else's life? Self-respect isn't just saying no to others. It's saying yes to your highest self. That means not settling for disrespect, not chasing lukewarm attention, not engaging with someone who constantly tests you without ever appreciating you. You feel it when you've compromised too far. That gut-wrenching guilt after agreeing to something you knew you shouldn't have. That tightness in your chest when you pretend it doesn't bother you. That mental exhaustion from trying to keep her interested instead of focusing on your own mission. All of it is the cost of abandoning yourself. But the most dangerous part? The more you do it, the more normal it feels. You stop noticing how drained you are. You stop noticing that your standards have eroded. And eventually, you forget what real self-respect even looks like. You begin calling weakness, empathy, cowardice, emotional intelligence, and indecision open-mindedness. But deep down, your soul knows you've traded power for proximity. The way out is brutal but necessary. You must become the man who walks away without flinching. When you feel disrespected, you don't complain, you disappear. When you feel devalued, you don't argue, you cut off access. When you feel the urge to explain yourself, you remind yourself that kings don't explain their crown to peasants. Want to build magnetic self-respect? Start by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something, do it. Every time you feel that little voice say, "Don't respond" to her text, listen. Every time your gut tells you, "This woman is draining your peace," act on it. Not tomorrow, today. Your self-respect is built in the micro moments when no one's watching. When you go to the gym because you said you would. When you work on your craft even when no one supports you. When you walk away from situations that tempt your ego but destroy your soul. And when you make this your way of life, when you hold yourself to a code, you become rare, unshakable, respected, and that's when everything changes. People treat you different. Women feel your energy shift. They stop testing. They start chasing, not because you manipulated them, but because you finally stopped betraying yourself. And that's what every high-value man understands. Self-respect is not optional. It is the foundation of power. Without it, you are just noise in a world of static. But with it, your presence becomes undeniable. Your aura becomes magnetic. And your life becomes yours again. Number 6, create subtle tension. Tension is not about drama, it's about energy. It's not about being mysterious for the sake of manipulation. It's about mastering restraint, and most men have no idea how powerful that is. You've been taught that in order to attract her, you need to constantly prove your worth, shower her with compliments, validate her endlessly, and make her feel like the most important person in your life. But what actually happens? She gets bored. She senses the desperation. She sees through the flattery and recognizes it as a weak man trying to impress instead of a grounded man commanding attention through silence. And so she loses interest. Not because she's evil, but because women are biologically drawn to tension, the dynamic that creates emotional stimulation. And tension doesn't come from neediness. It comes from the absence of it. It comes from saying just enough but not everything. From giving glimpses of your desire but never full surrender. From being available but never predictable. Think about it. The last woman who obsessed over you. Didn't she always wonder what you were thinking? Didn't she lean in because you weren't too eager, too available, too certain? That's not a game. That's nature. The unknown creates value. Predictability kills it. And the man who understands this doesn't overexpose. He reveals himself slowly, intentionally. He speaks with confidence, but holds back just enough to spark curiosity. He's not cold. He's aware. He's not distant. He's disciplined, and she feels it. It's in the way he makes eye contact just a second too long before looking away. In the way he smirks at her tease without reacting. In the way he touches her hand, then withdraws, making her crave more. And this is not just about dating. This is about how you move through life. Stop pouring your energy into every interaction like it's your last chance. Stop needing to be liked, understood, or approved. Start being intentional. When you speak, make it count. When you connect, let her earn your vulnerability. When you show desire, do it from power, not weakness. You want to build tension? Then stop chasing certainty. Become the man who can sit with ambiguity, who doesn't need every situation to be comfortable, who can flirt without begging, who can desire without depending. And the result? She thinks about you long after the interaction. She replays moments in her mind. She feels pulled toward you, not because of what you said, but because of what you held back. And most importantly, she starts chasing the tension you've created. Not because she's being manipulated, but because you've awakened something most men suppress. The thrill of curiosity. You don't need to say, "I like you." She'll feel it in the way you look at her, speak to her, and then walk away without attachment. That's the power of subtle tension. It creates attraction that doesn't die with the conversation. It lingers, it haunts, it pulls, and in a world full of men trying too hard, the one who knows how to hold back becomes unforgettable. Practice this daily. In conversation, speak less. In touch, pause longer. In connection, reveal slowly. Because what's earned is always more valued than what's given for free. And you are not here to be consumed in one sitting. You are a man of depth, of layers, of complexity. And she only gets access when she's earned it. That's not ego, that's value. And once you live like this, once your energy becomes unpredictable yet grounded, women can't get enough. Not because you tried to be wanted, but because you finally realized you already were. Number 7. Maximize physical archetype. You can't ignore your physical appearance and expect the world to take you seriously. That's the cold truth. You've been told, looks don't matter. Just be yourself, and if she really likes you, she won't care how you look. But that advice comes from men who've already given up. The reality is, your physical appearance is your first impression, and most men are failing at it. You step outside wearing clothes that don't fit your frame, you haven't groomed yourself properly, you walk like you're half asleep, and you wonder why no one takes a second look. Meanwhile, the man who walks past with a tapered fit shirt, clean haircut, upright posture, and a calm expression gets instant attention, not because he's a model, but because he looks like he values himself. And that's what this is really about, the signals your body sends before you speak. If you carry yourself like your presence doesn't matter, no one will believe it does. But when you start showing the world that you take pride in every detail, from your haircut to your shoes, your body composition to the way you sit, you command respect before you open your mouth. You don't need a six-pack or designer brands. You need intentionality. Train your body not to impress her. Train because discipline sharpens your mind, improves your confidence, and sends a primal signal that says, I can handle myself. Have you ever noticed how your confidence rises after a good workout, after grooming, after putting on an outfit that fits your proportions just right? That's not ego, that's alignment. Your internal self-image matches your external expression, and when those are aligned, your aura becomes undeniable. You walk into a room with certainty. You make eye contact without effort. You speak from a grounded place because your physical being reinforces your inner clarity. That's what makes you high value, not just muscles, intention. But most men hide from this. They wear oversized clothes to conceal their lack of training. They grow beards to hide their lack of jawline. They slouch to take up less space. And they think no one notices, but women notice everything. They see the man who's in shape, and they instantly register health, strength, and self-discipline. They see the man who dresses sharply, and they associate that with attention to detail and confidence. They see the man who walks upright, and they feel safe, attracted, intrigued. You can complain about unfairness, or you can weaponize the truth. Upgrade your body. Not tomorrow, today. Lift weights. Eat with purpose. Sleep like it matters. Groom like your image is a signal of value. Stop wearing the same worn-out hoodie you've had for 5 years. Replace it with something that frames your shoulders, that hugs your chest, that tells the world you're building yourself on purpose. Walk with slow, intentional steps. Practice posture. Speak from your diaphragm. Train your facial expressions to relax. No more constant nervous grins or twitchy lips. Learn to hold a calm, neutral face that says, I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to lead. This is how you project value physically, not by trying to look like someone else, but by becoming the strongest, cleanest, most intentional version of yourself. You don't need to be born attractive. You need to become undeniable. That starts with your body. That starts with your grooming. That starts with your presence. And once you align the outer with the inner, the world adjusts its respect accordingly. You stop being overlooked. You start being remembered. Not because you begged for it, but because you became it. Number 8, develop emotional detachment. There is no trait more dangerous to your peace than emotional dependency. And yet it is the most common plague destroying modern men. You don't realize how attached you are until she pulls away. You don't realize how desperate you've become until she delays her response, and you feel your heart sink. You think you're being in love, when in reality, you're being emotionally hijacked. Because when your emotional state depends on how she treats you, what she says, or how much attention she gives you, you've already handed her the power. And once you give her that power, you've lost the game. Because women don't respect a man they control emotionally. They test you not because they're evil, but because they want to see if you are strong enough to handle the highs and lows without flinching. And most of you fail that test every single day. She's cold one day and you spiral. She ignores a message and you double text. She flirts with another guy and you start questioning your worth. And every time you act out of fear, you shrink in her eyes. You become the man who cannot lead, cannot protect, cannot remain stable. And when that happens, attraction dies. You want to be respected. Learn detachment. Learn how to want her without needing her. Learn how to feel attraction without chasing validation. Learn how to enjoy her presence without fearing her absence. And the way you do that isn't by pretending not to care. It's by building a life that fulfills you so completely her behavior doesn't rattle your center. Get serious about your mission. Get lost in your craft. Fill your schedule with goals, challenges, and pursuits that ignite you. Because when your day is already full of meaningful work, you don't sit around waiting for her reply. You barely notice the delay, and that energy shift is everything. She senses when you're available emotionally. She knows when your mood depends on her, and she can't help but test it. But when she sees that your energy doesn't change, that you remain calm, grounded, focused, she is drawn to it. She leans in, she adjusts. Because detachment doesn't mean apathy, it means control. You care, but you are not ruled by your caring. You want her, but you do not need her. You enjoy her, but your life is full with or without her. And that kind of energy is addictive. Practice this every day. When she doesn't text back, don't react. When she throws emotional bait, don't bite. When you feel triggered, sit with the emotion, breathe through it, and watch it fade. Build a mental fortress so solid that no external behavior can shake it. That's not indifference. That's power. And that's what makes you dangerous. Because most men are emotionally reactive, slaves to their feelings, victims of their need for approval. But you're not like them anymore. You are training your spirit to stand alone, your emotions to obey you, your focus to remain locked in. You are becoming the man who isn't cold, but unshakable, not distant, but free. And when you master this detachment, you don't just win with women, you win in life. You make better decisions. You lose less sleep. You choose who stays and who leaves, because no one has access to your peace without earning it. That is emotional wealth. That is control. And that is what every man must build if he wants to live with dignity, power, and peace in a world designed to pull him off course. Number 9. Build social proof silently. You don't need to announce your value. You don't need to scream your achievements or plaster your wins across every social platform. In fact, the men who do that the most are often the ones with the least real power. Because true value, real, undeniable value, moves in silence. And social proof isn't about how many people clap when you speak. It's about who watches when you move without saying a word. Most men try to fake this. They rent cars, pose next to other people's money, name drop people they barely know, flash fake confidence in empty places just to appear important. And every time they do it, they broadcast one thing: insecurity. But you don't chase status. You build it, quietly, consistently, brick by brick. Because social proof isn't built through performance, it's built through presence. And you start creating it the moment you stop seeking it. When you walk into a room and speak to no one, but everyone watches, that's social proof. When others speak of your name with respect while you say nothing, that's influence. When people start adjusting their behavior just because you showed up, that's the aura you've been chasing. And here's how it's built. By becoming undeniable in your domain. By being so competent, so aligned, so precise in what you do and how you do it, that others begin to follow without being asked. Focus on your network. Surround yourself with other driven men who hold themselves to a standard, not because you're trying to climb their ladder, but because your presence among kings says more about you than any speech ever could. You are the average of the 5 men you surround yourself with. If you walk with weak, aimless men who whine and settle, you absorb their frequency. But if you walk beside leaders, builders, focused minds, that aura becomes yours. You don't need to show off. You don't need to post. Your life becomes your statement. Your daily routine becomes your brand. Your body, your voice, your posture, your ability to walk away without words. These are the things women and the world feel before you ever mention your resume. And if you're in a place where no one respects you right now, stop blaming the world. Stop blaming women. Start building. Work in silence. Disappear for a season. Emerge with results so loud you never need to explain again. Let your name be spoken in rooms you've never stepped in. Let your work speak before your mouth ever does. Let your vibe enter before your voice. And know this, every single interaction, every reputation you leave behind, every presence you carry into a room, they compound. Social proof is not a popularity contest. It's the quiet consensus that you are someone who moves with weight. Women feel this before they know your name. People sense it before they know your story. And when you live like this long enough, you become a force, not a performer, not a beggar, not someone explaining why he deserves respect, but a man who simply is. That's power. That's proof. And you never have to say a word to show it. Number 10. Radiate controlled desire. There's nothing more attractive to a woman than a man who desires her without needing her. A man who can look her in the eyes and express his interest with clarity, but not attachment. A man who can say, "I want you," and walk away the next second if her energy doesn't match. That kind of power is so rare, so intoxicating, so unsettling. It makes women obsessed. And yet most men operate at the opposite end of the spectrum. They suppress their desire to avoid rejection. They pretend not to care, even though they're burning inside. Or worse, they overexpress it with desperation, texting too fast, complimenting too much, chasing too hard. And in both cases, they lose. Because what she's drawn to is not a man who hides his desire or a man who's controlled by it, but a man who owns it with discipline. Controlled desire is when your interest is pure, but your standards are non-negotiable. When your attraction is visible, but your self-respect is stronger. You see her beauty, but you're not hypnotized. You feel the pull, but you don't follow blindly. You show appreciation, but never lose your center. That's magnetic. That's rare. And that's what separates men who are options from men who are obsessions. When you're in her presence, you don't overtalk. You don't validate. You don't act unsure. You simply look at her like a man who has seen beauty before, who's not shaken by it, who appreciates it, but doesn't beg for it. That level of detachment drives women crazy because it puts her in a position where she starts performing. She leans in. She invests. She thinks about you because your energy lingers, not from pressure, but from poise. This isn't about tactics. This is about identity. You become this man by refusing to betray yourself for affection, by being willing to walk away, even from the woman you want the most, if her presence starts costing you peace. That's real strength. And it translates. When you speak to her, you're grounded. When you touch her, it's intentional. When you show interest, it's authentic, but brief. You give enough to ignite her imagination, but never enough to kill the mystery. Controlled desire is not passive. It's precise. It says, "I know what I want. I want you. But if you play games, I'll disappear without a word." And when you live by this code, something shifts. You stop chasing. You start choosing. You stop hoping for chemistry. You start demanding compatibility. You stop texting paragraphs. You start sending energy. And that shift, that energy, becomes unforgettable. Women don't forget the man who leaves space for them to pursue. They don't forget the man who doesn't flinch. They don't forget the man who makes them feel seen. Not because he fawned, but because he stood still while she came closer. That's the man who lives rent-free in her mind, not because he tried harder, but because he didn't have to. You become that man not by pretending to care less, but by building a life that makes you care more about yourself. And once that happens, desire becomes a weapon you hold, not a leash she pulls. Most men will keep suffering in silence. They'll keep overgiving, keep explaining, keep getting ghosted, disrespected, and replaced, because no one ever told them the truth. And by the time they learn it, it's too late. But you're not most men. You're still here. You feel this in your chest. You know you've been living below your value. And now you have a choice. Keep living like you are, or take the first step into the version of yourself she can't control, the world can't ignore, and no one dares to disrespect. That's what the Stoic relationship blueprint is for. It's the powerful truths every man needs to know to finally reclaim his power in relationships and in life. And once it's yours forever. You'll have lifetime access to truths that most men will never hear until it's too late. It's linked in the comments. If this message resonates with you, comment "Untouchable Aura," like this video. Subscribe so more men don't waste their best years chasing lies, and take what's yours before the world hands you another lesson you didn't deserve.